you haven't heard, I've been rambling on with this fantastic cast of Amazon's hit show Upload. I have the dynamic and talented actresses is here with me today, world, and we're here to have some fun. We've been talking about technical issues and glitches, and their show was based on sci-fi, and I've been talking about the awful technical moments I had during the pandemic during interviewing styles. But here we are, we're gonna have some fun. Ladies, happy Women's History Month. I'm so excited to be talking to you two right now.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I mean, we're
Thank you.
excited, yeah, to be here.
So what is it like? I mean, I feel like everything now is, just so you know, you're talking to a guy who's pro technology. I love science, AI. I'm an AI tech fellow with Google. So I just love all these things. And so right now we're all about the future of work and artificial intelligence and Afrofuture, and this futurism is all the rage. And here you ladies are leading like this sci-fi comedy. Talk to me about what does that feel like to be in that space where in our society and culture, we're at this intersectionality of like science and fun.
Well, it really feels like this show is leading the charge, you know, and we joke about it so often where, you know, Greg Daniels is a psychic because so much of the stuff he's written and the writers that what they come up with is starting to come true. But I think what's so beautiful, and you talk about that intersectionality between reality, virtual reality, technology, and being anti-tech or being more more person to person, and I think the show does such a great job of balancing all of it and showing the beauty of what technology can do, but also the dark side, and it gets to show you all the different perspectives. This show is such a conversation starter, and it really makes you think, but in a light way where you're not too depressed afterwards. You're like, oh yeah, I can laugh through this, but like, let's talk about it. Whoa.
Zainab, what Andy just mentioned about, you know, Greg, and I love, who's the creator of Parks and Recreations and The Office. Parks and Recreation was my jam. Like, I just thought anyone who can turn like a random esoteric department agency like Parks and Recs into like a full-time comedy moment is like, bow down, you're a hero of mine. But South Park almost had like that psychic, was able to predict things in the future from political space. And Zainab, I know like you were Variety's top 10 comedians to watch 2019. Talk to me a little bit about how you feel a role of comedy plays in moderating social discourse, even to the point to lead this type of show called Upload, which is hilarious.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like comedy is like the not great equalizer, but it's like it sometimes can be the best way to get sometimes hard or difficult information across, you know? And so I think that Upload does that in like a really beautiful way. We're talking about like real issues, you know, we're talking about where the world will be given, you know, the very fast movements we're making in tech. We talk about politics, income disparity, all of those things. And I think that we, while very clear, are not heavy-handed. And I think it's because we found this like, you know, through the creator of the show, Greg, we found this like wonderful balance of like comedy, you know? And so, I mean, I'm just happy to be a part of it. And I do believe that we've always been, and by we, I mean like people of color, I think that we've always been in the sci-fi tech space, but maybe not always seen and heard. And I love that this show, like one of the big takeaways from this show for people are that it's like this so sci-fi-y, you know, and the fact that Andy and I are part of, you know, the leading charge of that. I just think that it's wonderful, and I'm grateful to be here.
It's interesting that you brought that up, Zainab, because as you were thinking, I thought two things came to mind. One about how Blacks have always been in sci-fi, right? I think Blacks are the early adapters when it comes to so many things, like social media, technology within home, like AV equipment, right? Like we're very quick to come to that. And then I started thinking about like what a lot of people don't know is that there was a Black man who created the video game console. So the reason why we're able to experience all these great video games and Call of Duty and all the cool things that we do now is because of a Black man. And then I'm just looking at you two Black ladies, and I'm thinking about Sanika, who's leading the charge on Star Trek, right? And so we have like another lead Black family, like in the sci-fi kind of vibe. She was on the show recently. Sidebar, I went to church with her. We kind of grew up in New York City together a little bit, so I'm very
That's
proud
awesome.
of her. And so this moment that we've always has been leading that, Andy, talk to us about, your thoughts on that as the app really threw up an alley-oop to you. To kind of give your thoughts on what she just said about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what's so beautiful, about this show. And it gives us an opportunity to really talk about what's happening in the world and different events or concepts and things, but in a way that it's not hitting you over the head. And to Zainab's point, the ability to laugh at something, it's always like, laugh while crying. And comedy has that such a beautiful way. It's similar to music in a way where it makes you think, it makes you feel something, and you connect to it instantly without it feeling too overwhelming. Where comedy, it really gets you to laugh about something, but in a way that it's not like pointed, but it's pointed, if that makes sense. You think of comedy in that way, and the show does a great job of that. And the writing is amazing, so much of the work is done for us because it just kind of flows, and then for us to come in, and the character, I'll speak for myself, Nora, it just felt so natural, and I resonated with her instantly, and her ability, and Zainab's character also exists in the virtual reality and reality, so we get to play this duality, and I think our characters show that aspect of what is life like when you are rooted in the real world, but then you get to go and experience also virtual reality and what that's like, and showcase the duality of both.
Yeah.
Andy, as you were talking, I was just thinking about how we actually are not that far off from living that life now, right? Like not to the extent that
not at all.
Upload is in, but we are existing in this very hybrid world, which is why Facebook changed their name to Meta. Because we are going more into the Web 3.0, and we are doing more augmented reality, and we are doing more VR reality, right? And so it's just all this augmented space, virtual versus the physical realm, right? And so what I love, audience, about this show, and audience, I'm a big fan of content, film, and television. I'm tough ladies, and my audience knows that. And my favorite form of comedy is satire. Because satire is so difficult to do if you can get it wrong. And so it's easy to get it wrong so quickly. But the great satirical comedians of our time get it right. And I think it moderates such a good course. And so, audience, this show really does do a good job of that, because, audience, I talk about politics every day, and I don't want to watch content that is about policy. And sometimes it's hard for me to watch film that is too heavy-handed with social construct and difficult times, because I have to do that for my job every day. And so it's not escapism. And so I don't want to then go to a movie that's about Black Lives Matter. I'm just like, I talk about that from 9 to 5, right? Like I want escapism in that. And Zainab, I see you're engaging in that silently. Talk to me about what you're thinking.
Yeah, I think that on our show Upload, I think that we do that really well. We give you the medicine in the candy, I think about one of my favorite scenes that I sometimes forget about, but as you were talking, it just popped up in my head. This season 2, you see a lot of AI guy. AI guy is and truly in real life, our phones are AI, our GPS are AI, our houses are now set up with smart technology, right? Our TVs are, and so that's like a reality, right? But when Nora is in the Lud camp and she meets the actor whose image was stolen to become the AI guy, spoiler alert, but it really, I mean, that it's so funny. So you could miss it. but really that scene is about our likeness, right? And the further we go into technology, that's what we're talking about, owning ourselves and our privacy and our images. And in that moment, it's such a quick scene, but in that moment, we lay all of that conversation out to you in such a funny moment, in such a funny way. I like those. That's one of my favorite things about the show, how we give you something that's so relevant and so serious, and we just wrap it in just the funniest, tastiest candy that you could get.
Audience, for those of you who are listening to the show right now in your homes, in your car, on your ears as you're walking around, maybe, or you're headed to brunch, please make sure you go to the YouTube page at I Am Mike Muse so you can see Zainab's physical expressions as she was telling that story. The way she did her little shoulder tweak, and I can't even be descriptive of what she just did, but that literally just made my day. And I think that might be the 60-second bite I'm going to use to promote the YouTube. I love the past that you had with that, Zainab. I love how you came alive with that, because I think that's just affirming what I was saying, and also too why this show is so well crafted and so well done. Because I'm never saying those heavy social constructs should never be discussed. Yeah. Right. And like data privacy should be discussed. And I think pop culture, art, film, television, music has a responsibility to bring awareness to these issues, but in a way where I don't have to listen to a full album of it. You know what I mean? That makes it so heavy. I mean, if people want to make a full album, then that is their creative choice and that's their right. But for some people like myself, I need a little bit of escapism, but you can still shock me, but give me a little bit of escapism.
And that's the beauty of so many platforms and streaming and networks, is that there's room for everything. There's room for, a Lovecraft Country, and there's room for Upload, and
I love you said that.
I hope that people know that, understand that, and feel comfortable loving both.
Yes.
It can be the same. Like, one doesn't take away from the other. I talk about that all the time. And then there is no committee that says what is art, right? That this doesn't exist, right? And so a Lovecraft Country can exist with Upload, which can exist with the Tyler Perry Medea, right? Like, everyone has a different things that we're attracted to, and we shouldn't devalue that art for someone who loves that art. If someone considers that to be art, we shouldn't devalue that, but we do that too often, Andy. I'm curious about your thoughts on that.
It's so true. I mean, and I think there's this idea sometimes in society that, like, once you pick the one thing you like and that's your thing, you do that thing, but it's like, as humans, we're so multifaceted, just as beings. And innately in ourselves, we have different quirks where some days we're a little chic, some days we're a little quirky, whatever, some days we're just not feeling it. And we're like, yeah, I don't know, not today. And I think it's the same with our, what are our likes or our tastes, some days, you want something a little darker and a little grittier that you want to watch. Sometimes you want that escapism. And yeah, exactly. To Zainab's point, we have so many options. Sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming. There is a lot of content and things out there, but the beauty of that is, what are you feeling? What do you want today? And then you have that thing to satisfy that. And Upload really fits a lot of those different tastes. Greg calls our show a stew, because you have the comedy, you have the sci-fi, you've got a little bit of murder mystery, you have a rom-com, and you've got some gore, some random gore. And all the while laughing at it. And it goes by so fast. Even just as a fan, just watching the show myself, it's like, ooh, okay, whoa, where did that go? And a lot of the feedback, I'm getting in comments, people are like, whoa, the 7 episodes in season 2 just flew by. And then you want that in a show where it's hitting all the different aspects that you like. And that's what's exciting. Also, just as an artist and actor in this, is getting to play with those different notes.
Audience, I mean, I'm going to repeat this too for Eddie. This conversation is meant to be viewed. I mean, it's great to hear it, But these ladies are so goddamn expressive. It is cracking me up how expressed they are, because Andy just had her whole body language moment, the lean back when she started really feeling it. You guys have got to watch this on my YouTube page, because these ladies are expressive. I see why you guys have been cast to lead the show, and it goes to show how incredible talent that you guys are, because acting is just about about the delivery. It's more than just the lines, right? It's how you interpret, but then two, how then do you deliver it, right? And I think a lot of things get missed in the physical, acting of comedy, where you don't have to do over the top, but sometimes it's just a nuance of how the actor picks up a pair of glasses, right? Like, there's so much power and strength. I remember a scene when Meryl Streep did that movie about the Washington Post. She was really just sitting in an armchair, and the way she reached over to grab her glasses, I was thinking the nightstand, and swung it around and put it on her face, it just gave so much weight to that actual scene and what was happening. And so I love you guys' physical movement. It's not over the top. It's just subtle enough to emphasize your points that you have. Yeah.
I'm gonna be thinking about that as I talk to people today. I'm gonna be like, what am I?
I know. Right. It's like, what am I doing?
Let me tell you, whoever you talk to now won't pick it up like I do. Ain't nobody got it like me. So you're fine. But Zainab, I think the reason why I want to talk about Amazon just really quickly, and I'm not here to promote Amazon, I'm not biased to that. I rock with Amazon. But I think what you mentioned earlier into what Andy was talking about, the breadth and range of topics and styles, I think these are what streaming platforms, the beauty, because Andy, you talked earlier about the good and bad of technology, right? Because although I am pro technology, the reason why I do have this Google Tech Policy Fellow is to make sure that we should secure a policy to make sure marginalized communities aren't received on the negative aspect of technology and advancements of it, right? And so with that being said too, Zainab, I really love like these streaming platforms like Amazon and Netflix and Hulu and Disney Plus and all the things, because it allows different forms of content to be had, right? Because the narrative there's never been a bandwidth on traditional broadcast networks or cable networks, right? But with Amazon, there is unlimited bandwidth, essentially, unlimited budget, although I think Jeff Bezos has unlimited money, but the conversation of bandwidth gets eliminated. And so then you can see more, shows that have people of color, strong narrative and leads. If you can talk to me a little bit about your thoughts and experience and working, as you guys both have done broadcast linear and streaming, I'm just curious your thoughts on that.
Well, I think that I think as the world moves forward, I just think that the energy in the world, just human beings, I think that we're wanting to see more stories, and we're wanting to see more diverse stories. And by diverse, I mean from, all genders, all gender identities, all ages, all types, all cultural backgrounds. I think that we're craving that because there's a certain knowledge in that. There's a certain interest in someone else's experience. And I think now that there is, or there are more places for stories to be told, it provides more opportunity for people to tell those stories. There's not this limited thing in 2 or 3 people saying that this is what we're going to tell. And I just think that that's where I think that that's where we are, and hopefully we move more towards that. I hope that that seeing more stories from diverse backgrounds isn't just like a trend. I of course benefit from it. But I when I look at like young Black and Latin and Asian actresses that I know, even trans that I know, I admire like where they are. They're 19 years old maybe, and there's so much opportunity. There's so many shows in different genres available to them. And I think about when I was 19, that wasn't the case, And so I think that it's wonderful, and I think that it's necessary. And I think any network, from the streamers to the linear, that are not doing it, then I think that they'll be left behind.
Ooh, go ahead with the word for today.
You better preach. Drop the mic on that one.
Just like and welcome to the TED Talk of Zainab. Right? Y'all ass about to get left behind, streamers and linears, so do better. That's actually amazing. But I agree with you though, Zainab, is because of that, right? And I think about that, even for myself, I think about how our kids are growing up now in this society, right? And someone said to me, I was interviewing Denzel and about Macbeth. And so he and I started talking. It was just like, yo, there's gonna be some white kids and Black kids in elementary school who are seeing Macbeth for the first time as a Black man, who may only know Macbeth as a Black man, right? And so it's interesting how that narrative shapes.
Yeah, it's like the young kid, it's like the kids who were born and grew up, like are maturing during the Obama era.
Yeah.
It's like before them, people lived very long lives and said, I never saw a Black president. They lived their lives and never got to see that. And then there were children born, and that's the first thing that they experienced.
Yeah.
And I mean, we have to keep going. It doesn't stop there.
Yeah. I was thinking about that just watching the Critics' Choice Awards last weekend, and they had that segment where all the trans individuals came up and presented an award in a whole 2 award categories, right, as a group and as a collective. And I thought that was a very powerful moment to see that in the moment. So these award shows, I think, do have meaning. There is, conversation, the validity of some of these things. I'm not here to debate that today, but I think in moments like that, there is validity. What do you hope, as we round out this conversation, people will take away from Upload?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I want them to, enjoy it. It's a show, and we feel so, if I can speak for Andy as well, we have such a good time making it. For me, it's enough for me if people just have a good time watching it. Now, if you leave with some newfound knowledge, or if you leave with some new perspective, or you want to invent something, if that also happens, then wonderful. But we want you to come on this ride with us. We want you to engage with us as characters in the story that we're telling, and just enjoy it.
I love it. And for you, Andy?
Oh, that was so beautifully said. I feel like Zainab, you're just amazing. How can I even add on to that? Yeah, I mean, this show, we love making this show, and it's fun. It makes you think. It's a conversation starter. And I think you just allow yourself to go on the ride. It's definitely its own thing, but it'll make you laugh, and it goes by quick. It is that escapism that is, I think, so needed in this time that we're living in, and what we've been living in and continue to live in. Yeah. It is such a great show that allows you to kind of take a step away from your own life and what's happening in the world, but yet makes you feel like you can relate. So yeah, just enjoy it.
Yeah. I love. Well, ladies, I've had such a great time being in conversation with you. It didn't even feel like an interview. It just felt like we were just talking to guests where I don't feel like I'm working, right? Yeah. And so you guys, as you do your media runs going forward, I wish you guys nothing but the best. But this conversation is, because I think what sometimes people on the other side, audience, this is good inside baseball just for you, audience too as well, is that both of us have jobs to do. We're on different sides of it, but this is my job, 9 to 5. This is your job, 9 to 5. Some days I don't feel it. Some days y'all don't feel it, but we got to do it, right? And you have to leave your issues at the door, right? And kind of just show up. And I'm an empath, so I feel energy even through Zoom. And so I'm always tell the publicists and the media people, I'm like, yo, the conversation's gonna be as good as your guests, as your talent, or as your clients are. If your clients are shitty, the interview's gonna be shitty. Right? So so talk to your people if you come talk to me. But you guys have just been awesome. I am And I don't mean this just to gas you guys up. Like, you guys are next. I really feel it. Like, you guys are just kind, decent people, and you guys are extremely talented. You guys are so thoughtful, and you guys are so intellectually sound on your character and what the show is. Most actors are not. I'll be honest with you. You'll be amazed at some of these press runs, right? But you guys are fully aware of your character and what the character is in relationship to the show, and what the showrunner is trying to communicate. And you guys are just fun and smart and witty and expressive. And I cannot wait to follow your career journey. So please come back on the Mike Muse Show anytime you guys have some projects. You have a home here.
Thank you.
Oh, wow. Thanks so much, Mike.
Yeah, and everybody listening and watching, you know, if you haven't seen Upload, watch it. It is, you know, it's great. Watch it.
You guys have a fan in me. I'm a fan of you guys individually. The show too, but individually. All right, you guys have a wonderful rest of your weekend and journey until I see you guys again.
Okay.
Awesome.
Bye.
Thanks so much,
bye
Mike.
everyone.